is why both sets of people are in the Nativity, because they encapsulate everybody, all people, the best and the worst, the rich and the poor, the sinners and the saints. The shepherds were actually an unreachable group of people. Their reputations, whether warranted or not, had them cast into the desert by the rabbi. Because there were some shady shepherds, all shepherds were considered shady. They were destined to be shepherds, and that is what they would always be. They were probably born into the life, the lowliness of it. So they had no choice. I wonder what or who are our shepherds of today? People who have been cast out, labelled sinners and unreachable. Is it us? Is it me? Is it you? Today we're going to ask ourselves how we can be like the shepherds. You see, their response to the angels was on point. It was as it should be. Angels had always been in a shrine, a form on top of the Ark of the Covenant, but this brought them out into the open. It brought the relationship that God wanted with us out from behind the veil, the temple curtain. Luke 2:16 says, "So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things that they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told." So it says at the start, once the angels had gone, they hurried off. They hurried off, and there was no expectation that the shepherds had to get their lives right before they met the Saviour. This is so important for us to remember. Is this us? Is it me? Is it you? Do we hurry to the Saviour, or do we have an expectation that we and others need to get our lives sorted, or have some sort of righteousness in our lives before we meet Jesus? This was never an expectation of God. The angel's message did not have that expectation in it. They were simply told to go, and they did. The shepherds received the news from the angels and responded without question. I think if the angels had gone to the religious leaders or the Pharisees, they would have had an argument on their hands. The Pharisees would have been trying to question and trip up the angels. The Pharisees had an expectation of what and how the Messiah would arrive. And the thing that the angels were saying was not that way. The Pharisees were antagonists. They were the antagonists of the day. They believed they were right and everyone else was wrong. Is this us? Is this me? Is this you? If this is us, if we are the antagonists of the day, how do we shift our mentality from being a Pharisee to being a shepherd? How can we encounter Jesus in a way that compels us towards him, just as it did for the shepherds? And not just at Christmas or at Easter, and not in a passive, tedious way, but in a way that is life-changing. How can the baby in the manger and the Saviour on the cross be so inviting that we would drop what we are doing and hurry to them, hurry to him? Are we asleep at the wheel, driving our Christianity without being truly present, being passive in our relationship with the Saviour, not even taking much notice of where we're going? I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm driving and I get somewhere and I think, wow, how did I get here? Hopefully I didn't go through a red light. Or sometimes we're driving and you totally go in the wrong direction. You think you're going somewhere and then you miss the turn up because you're so busy thinking about other things in your head. Sorry, I've lost my place. Anyway, so is this us? Is this me? Is this you? It is time to take the wheel, to take more than an annual journey to the manger. You see, many of us have known God a long time, and maybe we have been settling for less than what we had when we first encountered Him. The shepherds were so excited about their encounter with Jesus that when they left, they were telling everybody about it. Verse 17 says, when they had seen Him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. So we know that the shepherds were the outcasts. And so to be honest, they may not have told many people. They would probably have told their families and other shepherds. No one told them they had to do that. No one told them how to do that. They were just telling everyone about the amazing thing that had happened in their lives. It was something quite natural. The Bible also doesn't say that those they told were saved. It just says they were amazed. The shepherds were making God known. That's all they were doing. They weren't strong-arming anybody, just telling people about what they had experienced. Is this us? Is this me? Is this you? Do we share our experience with others? Do we walk the talk and talk about our walk? Or do we put Jesus away with the Christmas decorations? In verse 20, the shepherds returned glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told. Amazing, they'd just seen a baby. It was just a baby. The amazing thing was, it was just as the angels had told them. That's what was the amazing thing. The shepherds had seen Jesus and praised God. They connected the dots. The experience changed them. It was an aha moment. Who had an aha moment with Jesus? Has anybody had an aha moment?
What just hit me?
Just means, yes, I get it. Yeah? This was it though. The gospel didn't spread. Doesn't say that anybody became a Christian. You know, there are plenty of other places in the Bible where it says that 5,000 were saved that day. It doesn't say that here. It was the shepherd's God moment. Maybe a God moment similar to what our youth have at Easter camp. And we often feel discouraged that nothing becomes of those God moments. But we don't know the end of the shepherd's story. We don't know the end of our youth's story. We don't know the end of our story. The Bible doesn't say how the interaction between Jesus and the shepherds affected their lives, except to say that they praised God. I wonder if they continued to walk with Jesus daily. I wonder if they were still alive 30 years later when Jesus' ministry started, or 3 years after that when he died on the cross. They are never mentioned again, so who knows? We just know that they knew God because it says they glorified and praised him. The shepherds encountered God and were changed. There have been so many things that have changed in our lives this year. I'm sure our relationship with God has been changed and been affected. Excuse me. However that has happened, we need to get back to praising and worshipping God. I know it has been hard, as we've been limited in the amount of singing that we've been able to do. The Bible doesn't say that the shepherds sang their praises to God, it just said that they praised him and glorified him. Praising and glorifying God needs to be an attitude of our heart. What God did for those shepherds was something really beautiful. He reached the unreachable. Is this us? Are we the unreachable? Is this me? Or is this you? Let's make it us this week. As we come to the end of the year, let's allow God to compel us towards knowing him and making him known, as simply as the shepherds did. As we start into the new year, let's allow God to reach the unreachable places in our lives and make something beautiful out of us.